Welcome to Shadow Files, the channel where hidden truths rise from the silence and mysteries long buried begin to speak. Now, imagine this. Deep in the deserts of New Mexico, surrounded by barbed wire and guarded gates, stands one of America's most secretive research facilities, Sandia National Laboratories. On the surface, it's just another government lab working on defense and technology. But what if that's only part of the story? What if, behind those locked doors, something far more extraordinary is being kept from us? Whispers have emerged, leaked files, testimonies never meant to be heard. Among them, a chilling account. One man claiming telepathic contact with a being known only as Zor, a messenger from the Galactic Alliance. Is it madness? Or a message? Are we truly alone in the universe, or have we simply not been told the truth? In this episode, we'll trace the threads of secrecy, uncover the strange events tied to Sandia, and dive into the mind-bending possibility that we may not be Earth's only inhabitants. Stay with me till the end, because what we uncover may not only challenge what you believe, it might awaken something you've always known deep down. And before we begin this journey into the unknown, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Shadow Files. Your support keeps the light on in the darkest corners of truth. Let's enter the shadows. Have you ever met someone who knew you, not just your name or your face, but every part of you, like they'd seen your soul 1,000 times before? That's how it started. Not with a light in the sky or a sudden noise, but with that unshakable feeling. The air shifted. The room itself seemed to breathe. Colors felt too sharp, too alive. Like I was standing inside a lucid dream I didn't remember entering. And then, he was there. Zor didn't walk in, he was just present, as if the air around me had quietly folded open to let him through. He wasn't glowing like a cliché alien from a sci-fi film, but there was a soft radiance to him, like he belonged somewhere just a little more real than here. His hair was long and sun-streaked, the kind you'd expect on someone who spent lifetimes surfing cosmic waves. But his eyes, massive, deep and kind in a way that made time stutter. It felt like being hugged without being touched. Like my thoughts weren't just being read, they were being understood. "You're not just human," he said, or didn't say exactly. It was more like I knew what he meant. "This world, it's a shared illusion, a dream your soul agreed to experience, but you're connected to more, much more." He spoke of a galactic network, a web of souls across time and stars. Earth, he said, is just one page in an infinite book, and we're the readers in the story all at once. He wasn't there to impress or intimidate. He was familiar, like Hermes, the messenger god, or a spirit guardian you'd only meet in altered states of consciousness. He wasn't here to save us. He was here to remind us that we've never been alone. Then everything snapped back. Normal, too normal. The chair beneath me felt stiff, the light flat. I looked down, and there it was, my tea, cold, untouched. I had made it less than 5 minutes before, and now 2 hours had vanished. Gone, like someone had edited time and forgot to smooth out the cut. No burn marks, no spaceship, just that silence. That impossible aching silence that screams something bigger has happened. And here's the part that'll make some people roll their eyes. I don't care if anyone believes me. I felt it, deep down, like a memory that's been hiding in my bones. Something's out there, or maybe in here, waiting to be seen again. So, what was that? A hallucination? A visitation? A glitch in reality? You've heard the stories. Maybe you've even lived your own. But here's the real question. If beings like Zor are reaching out, what are they trying to tell us before we finally remember who we are? Think about it, and let me know. Have you ever had a moment that didn't belong to this world? Imagine this. You're walking through an underground tunnel deep beneath the New Mexico desert. The air feels colder than it should, and everything is unnaturally quiet. You reach a heavy, metallic door. It hisses open. Behind it, glass chambers, rows and rows of them, each one glowing faintly under sterile white light. What's inside? Not test tubes, not machines. Beings. Real, breathing, otherworldly beings. Some of them look almost human, close enough to make your skin crawl. Others, nothing like anything we've seen on Earth. One floats silently, like a brain wrapped in threads of living light. Another crouches low, amphibian-like, its translucent skin pulsing softly as it watches the ceiling. Further down, something avian stretches its long wings, feathers shimmering like they're woven from stars. These aren't characters from a movie, they're prisoners, or at least, that's what some people claim. Here's the question that keeps me up at night. What if they didn't come here to hurt us? What if they were explorers, scientists, travelers who took a wrong turn through the cosmos and ended up not just captured, but hidden, dissected, locked away under maximum secrecy? In a place known only to a handful of people, a place like Sandia. The facility's layout, if the reports are true, isn't just clinical, it's designed to isolate. Every chamber is soundproof, lit at all hours, monitored by blinking red eyes in the corners. These aren't observation rooms, they're cages. The kind built by people who don't want to understand, but control. So what are our scientists really doing in there? Some say it's about peace, trying to make first contact in a controlled way. But others believe something darker, reverse engineering alien tech, testing biological samples, preparing defenses in case of war. And here's the uncomfortable part. If it is true, then we're the ones who fired the first shot, not them. I keep thinking about Zor. That's the name given by one whistleblower to one of the beings inside. They said Zor was different, calm, intelligent, maybe even kind. And yet, for all that, still trapped. If a being like Zor really exists, and we've chosen to keep them locked underground, what does that say about us? And maybe that's the real conspiracy. Not that aliens are here, but that we've met them and we hid it. Not to protect people, but to protect power. Now, maybe this all sounds like wild science fiction. Maybe. But if even one part of it is true, if there's even a sliver of reality behind the glass walls of Sandia, don't we deserve to know? You might have heard rumors, stories, whispers. But what if they're more than that? What if the real question isn't are they here, but what have we done to them? What do you think? Could we already be jailers in a cosmic story we barely understand? Let me know below, because this is just the beginning. What if the strange beings we see in UFO sightings today have been visiting us for thousands of years? Across the red cliffs of the American Southwest, ancient petroglyphs tell a silent story. Etched into stone are tall figures with large almond-shaped eyes and elongated limbs. No clothes, no weapons, just those haunting eyes staring across time. Indigenous tribes believed they came from the stars. But were they gods, spirits, or something else? Now let's rewind even further, to the ancient Sumerians. Their clay tablets, some over 4,000 years old, speak of gods who descended from the sky in fiery chariots. They weren't just spiritual symbols, they were described as real beings, Anunnaki, who walked among humans, taught us language, mathematics, even farming. It's like they came with a purpose, almost like guidance. jump ahead to the shadowy stone corridors of a medieval monastery. A monk, alone in his cell, scribbles by candlelight. Outside, the wind howls. Then suddenly, his room fills with a soft, golden glow. A figure stands in the corner. Not winged like the angels in his scriptures. Not demonic either. Just radiant. And it speaks, not in words, but thoughts. Time isn't what you think. I've been here before. The monk, trembling, writes it all down. That journal? Suppressed, buried, maybe even destroyed. Or maybe it's still out there, forgotten in some dusty archive. Zor, this new figure contacting us now, might just be the latest in a long line of watchers, messengers, maybe even visitors. He says, time is an illusion. Could it be that all of these sightings, myths, visions are not random? What if they're all connected, like echoes from a single voice, whispering across centuries? Think about it. Ancient carvings, god kings from the sky, secretive medieval visions. And now Zor. Is he warning us, preparing us, or just reminding us that we've never been truly alone? You've probably heard bits of these stories before. But what if they're not just myths? What if they're memories? So what do you think? Are these just coincidences, or pieces of a cosmic puzzle we're only beginning to understand? This mystery might be older and deeper than we ever imagined. Imagine this. Deep beneath the desert sands of New Mexico, inside a fortress of steel doors and biometric scanners, scientists in white coats don't just study nuclear fusion or AI algorithms. They're quietly experimenting with the human mind. What if I told you some of these labs might be exploring something way beyond physics? Something that sounds more like science fiction than science. Welcome to Sandia National Laboratories. Officially, it's a hub of cutting-edge research, quantum mechanics, advanced weaponry, artificial intelligence. But whispered among insiders is a very different story. There are rumors of classified projects not aimed at building bombs, but unlocking consciousness, remote viewing, telepathy, interdimensional contact. Sounds wild. Maybe, but not entirely without basis. Back in the 70s and 80s, the CIA ran a covert operation called the Stargate Project. Their goal? Train operatives to see distant targets using only the power of their minds. These weren't fringe ideas. They were funded, documented, and taken seriously at the highest levels of intelligence. So if that was public knowledge decades ago, what's happening now behind closed doors? Some researchers believe that if aliens are real, they're not necessarily zipping around in UFOs. Instead, they might be interacting through consciousness, appearing in dreams, altered states, or even as psychic impressions. Think of it more like a mental download than a physical handshake. That's eerily similar to accounts involving beings like Zor, who don't show up in flying saucers, but seem to materialize in the mind, leaving behind knowledge or warnings. Now here's the crazy part. What if governments already know this? What if certain black budget programs are trying to bridge the gap between quantum science and spiritual realms? Picture a lab where scientists meditate in soundproof rooms while hooked up to neural monitors, trying to make contact, not with humans, but with entities from somewhere else. The deeper you go, the weirder it gets. Could it be that the final frontier isn't outer space, but inner space? The vast, untapped potential of human consciousness. Maybe the next breakthrough in technology isn't mechanical at all. It's metaphysical. You've probably heard bits of these stories, but could there be a hidden truth connecting them all? Could science and the esoteric finally be coming together, right under our noses? What if a single, silent moment could shatter everything you thought you knew about life and death? That's exactly what happened to a man named Daniel after a strange, almost dreamlike encounter with a being he now calls Zor. He wasn't abducted. There was no bright light or spaceship hovering over a cornfield. Just a presence. Something that didn't speak with words, but with understanding. And from that night on, Daniel's life was never the same. He used to be all logic and lists, an engineer grounded in facts. But after Zor, something shifted. He started waking up at 3 a.m. with visions he couldn't explain. He'd sit in his garden for hours, hands buried in the soil, as if the earth was whispering truths he'd forgotten. People noticed. He was calmer, kinder. He cried more easily, especially when watching the news or hearing someone's pain. And strangely, he stopped fearing death. He said it felt like the line between this world and the next had become paper thin. Daniel isn't alone. Thousands of people across the globe have shared similar transformations after so-called contact experiences. But here's where it gets even weirder. A woman in New Mexico was on the brink of death. Hospital monitors flatlined. Family was already mourning. And then, in the quiet of the room, she described seeing a glowing figure, radiating warmth, standing at the foot of her bed. She felt no pain, no fear, just pure, enveloping peace. Minutes later, she came back. The doctors called it a miracle. She calls it her wake-up call. Now she spends her life working with terminal patients, helping them cross over without fear. Then there's Marcus, a former soldier. Hardened, distant. He had seen things no one should ever have to witness. But one night, while sleeping in a noisy VA hospital, he had a dream that felt more than real. He saw a council of beings, tall, bright-eyed, silent. They didn't speak. They showed him the cost of war, the generations of pain, the ripple effects. When he woke up, he wept like a child. He left the military, started a peace initiative. He says he doesn't want to fight anymore, not out of cowardice, but because he finally understands what war really costs. So here's the real question. What if these experiences aren't random? What if they're part of something much bigger? An awakening? Maybe these beings, whatever they are, aren't here to conquer or observe. Maybe they're here to nudge us, to remind us of who we could be. Empathic, united, evolved. And maybe the truth won't come in a breaking news report or a government admission. Maybe the real disclosure is happening inside us, one heart at a time. You've heard the stories, but are they just hallucinations or glimpses of something real, something ancient? Let's hear your take. Could humanity be transforming? And if so, why now? We set out chasing a whisper, a rumor, a strange encounter buried under layers of security and silence. And now, we're left staring into a mystery that refuses to go away. What if Zor is real? What if beings from the stars have already made contact, but not with governments, with us? The idea may sound unbelievable, but ask yourself, why do so many people around the world, from ancient times to today, share the same stories? Stories of beings from the skies, of messages in dreams, of knowledge too advanced to explain. Maybe it's not just coincidence, maybe it's memory. The truth is, mystery is not our enemy, it's our invitation. An open door to a world where science meets spirit, and logic doesn't cancel belief, it expands it. We are not just living in a physical universe, we are part of something much more profound, a cosmic web of connection, energy, and consciousness. And the more we open our minds, the more we begin to remember that the answers aren't out there, they're within us. So keep seeking, read between the lines, Listen closely, not just to voices around you, but to the one inside that knows more than you've ever been told. Because maybe the stars aren't millions of miles away. Maybe they're already inside us, waiting to awaken. Thank you for watching Shadow Files. Until next time, stay curious, stay awake, and stay in the shadows.